Welcome to the Explainer. Look, if you're a homeowner, you probably don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about your heating and cooling systems. Until they suddenly stop working, right? Today, we're diving straight into the hidden factors that are actively wearing down your home's HVAC system, and more importantly, how you can make smart, strategic financial decisions to save it. We're going to break down the exact science of why these incredibly complex systems fail, pulling directly from the expertise of professionals operating in some of the absolute toughest climates out there. We'll uncover the silent killers of your equipment and hand you the ultimate homeowner's playbook to protect your wallet. So, imagine this total nightmare scenario. Your AC just completely quits in 90-degree heat, or your furnace just flat out dies on the absolute coldest night of the year. When your system fails like this, you aren't just uncomfortable, you're looking at potential property damage and some very real health risks. And honestly, this isn't just a dramatic hook. This is the reality for thousands of homeowners every single year. The thing is, HVAC systems almost never break down on a mild, beautiful 70-degree spring afternoon. No, they fail when they are pushed to their absolute limits. And when they finally give out during extreme weather, the stakes instantly jump from a minor annoyance right up to a full-blown home emergency.
Section 1. The Middle Tennessee Climate Test. To understand why these machines break down, we really have to look at the brutal environmental stress test they go through every single day.
Take a place like Columbia, Tennessee, for example. Systems out there are constantly battling these wild seasonal swings, sometimes running nonstop for 12 hours straight, literally just to keep a house livable. When you combine 95-degree heat with a suffocating 80% humidity, your air conditioner isn't just cooling the air anymore, it's practically trying to pull actual buckets of water out of your living room. Then, fast forward a few months, and sudden winter cold snaps with freezing rain push your furnace right to the brink. Throw in local microclimates, like the crazy high moisture levels near the Duck River, and the fact that a lot of older neighborhoods have aging infrastructure, and you've got a perfect storm for mechanical failure.
And get this, sometimes the very ground your house is built on acts like an antagonist. It's wild because we always blame the machine when things go wrong, but in areas with heavy clay soil, the earth itself actually expands and contracts with moisture. Over time, that subtle foundation shifting physically rips apart the hidden ductwork inside your walls and crawlspaces. So what happens? You end up paying top dollar to heat and cool spaces you don't even live in, while your actual living room stays completely miserable. It's an absolute silent efficiency killer.
Section 2. How HVAC systems fail. Now that we've seen what the environment is doing to your house, let's look at exactly how it destroys your equipment. Because, spoiler alert, it is almost never just a case of bad luck. There is a brutal, predictable chain reaction to these failures. Something as unbelievably simple as slightly low refrigerant or a dirty air filter can rapidly escalate into a completely burnt-out motor. Think of your AC compressor like a car engine. During those non-stop heat wave runs, if the system is just a tiny bit low on refrigerant, the compressor overheats and dies. Boom, gone. For your blower motor, just basic dust buildup mixed with high humidity acts like a heavy, wet blanket. It chokes the airflow until the motor literally works itself to death. And your gas furnace? Those modern electronic ignitions are incredibly sensitive. If even a little dirt settles on them during the summer, they'll completely fail to spark during that first sudden winter freeze.
Section 3. The Homeowner's HVAC Rulebook. Good news is, you don't have to be a certified mechanic to protect your home. You really just need to follow a few simple, actionable rules.
So, what is the 3-minute rule for your AC? Be honest for a second. Have you ever fidgeted with the thermostat because the house felt warm, just rapidly jabbing the arrows up and down? We have all been guilty of this, right? Especially during a family thermostat war. You walk inside, you're sweating, and you start mashing the buttons, hoping to somehow force the cold air out faster. But this completely innocent little habit is actually one of the most destructive things you can possibly do to your system. Here's the secret. You have to give it 3 minutes. By simply letting your system complete its cycle and equalizing the pressure, you prevent massive mechanical strain and avoid a totally unnecessary, incredibly expensive premature compressor failure. Think about it. When your AC shuts off, the high-pressure and low-pressure sides of the refrigerant lines need a moment to balance out. If you immediately demand cold air again by messing with the dial, you're forcing that compressor to restart against a literal wall of high pressure. Now, modern thermostats usually have a built-in delay to stop you from doing this, but the golden rule remains: set the temperature and walk away. Give it 3 minutes. Now, this brings us to a crucial number: $5,000. This is the ultimate formula for deciding when you need to stop fixing and start replacing. Every single homeowner eventually faces that awful dilemma with an aging system.
Do you spend the cash to patch it up for just one more season, or do you finally bite the bullet and replace the whole thing? This $5,000 rule, it takes all the emotion and all the guesswork completely out of the equation.
Let's do some really quick math together. Say you've got a 12-year-old system, and your technician says it needs a $500 repair just to get through the summer. You take the age, 12, multiply it by the cost, $500. That gives you $6,000. Because that $6,000 crosses the $5,000 threshold, the mathematically smart choice is to replace it. Those older units are bleeding efficiency every day anyway, so sinking more cash into them is literally throwing your money away instead of investing it in a new, reliable system.
And the reason that 12-year mark is so important is because if your system is getting up to that age and it's already limping along, it's time to plan for a replacement right now, before a total emergency strikes. In a really moderate climate, sure, you might squeeze a few extra years out of a unit, but when your equipment is fighting extreme humidity and massive temperature swings, 12 to 15 years is the realistic finish line. Catching this before the unit totally dies means you can actually shop around calmly, rather than panic buying whatever random unit happens to be available during a July heat wave.
Section 4. Repair versus replace. If you do decide it's time to replace your system, picking the right unit is a very careful science. It is not just about buying the biggest box you can afford.
Because bigger isn't always better. Square footage alone does not dictate capacity. Without proper load calculations that look at your home's insulation and even which way your windows face, you'll end up with one of two miserable scenarios. An oversized system will just aggressively blast cold air, hit the target temperature in 5 minutes, and shut off. That's called short cycling. The problem is, it never runs long enough to actually pull the humidity out of the air, so your house feels gross and clammy. On the flip side, an undersized system will literally run 24/7, driving your electric bill right through the roof while you're still sitting on the couch sweat.
But hey, there's actually some really good news here. Upgrading from an old R22 system to a modern R410A system doesn't just make your house more comfortable, it unlocks massive 2025 federal tax credits and seriously slashes your utility costs. Those old R22 refrigerants are officially being phased out, meaning it's incredibly expensive to recharge older systems when they leak. By stepping into a modern system with proper SEER2 ratings, you're immediately using about 30% less energy right out of the gate. Add in the tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act, and that new system starts paying for itself a lot faster than you'd probably think.
Section 5. The professional repair process. So, whether you are repairing or replacing, what should you actually expect when you finally pick up the phone?
A trustworthy provider, let's take Alpha HVAC Nashville for example, is going to follow a really straightforward 3-step process to completely eliminate surprises and get your life back to normal. HVAC repair shouldn't feel like a mystery. It should start with clear dispatching so you aren't stuck waiting around the house all day. Then comes a thorough diagnosis, where they find the actual root cause, not just put a Band-Aid on a symptom, followed by getting your explicit approval on the price before a single wrench is turned. And finally, the repair is made and physically verified before the technician ever leaves your driveway. Because honestly, you shouldn't have to wait 3 days for a part when it is 95 degrees inside your house. That is why a properly stocked truck and totally transparent pricing are absolute non-negotiables. If a company shows up without the most common capacitors, contactors, or fan motors already sitting right there in their truck, they are wasting your time. A real pro knows exactly what breaks down in their local climate and comes ready to fix it in one single visit, handing you an upfront price so you're never blindsided by some crazy hidden fee.
Well, I really hope this explainer has empowered you with the knowledge to protect your home and your wallet. Armed with the 3-minute rule and that $5,000 replacement formula, you're now in the driver's seat. But it leaves us with one final, pretty urgent question. Is your AC trying to tell you something right now, or are you ignoring the warning signs? Those weird clanking noises, that slight dip in the airflow, or the fact that it just seems to run a little bit longer than it did last year? Those aren't just quirks. They're a countdown. Thanks for hanging out for this explainer, and definitely stay cool out there.